Today we'll be installing those braided brake steel lines. The rear, it's a kit Audi 1600 for the RS4. You can see here a rear brake line. They provide a banjo bolt with a copper washer, actually two copper washer, one for each side. And here you can see the front line, much longer, different shape, different fittings, so you can't really mix them. You have a whole set in the back, two front, two rear, so you can do the whole car. Here we're going to start with the rear. So you can see here on the caliper side, we will remove these bolts, pop it out, the line will come out. Here you have to remove this torque 20 to see what's going on behind. Be careful, this car still has a stock DRC suspension. This line here is for the DRC suspension. The lower line down here is the one for the brakes. And so here you can see the brake line here is threaded in the hard line that starts here. A trick to not have brake fluid spill like crazy while you are doing this job is you open the door and you are going to use a stick to press the brake pedal halfway, not all the way, just halfway. That will lock the pin in the master cylinder of the brakes, and that will prevent more fluid to drop from your brake ball down into it and drain the whole brake fluid. In the street car you would have a seat that you can move forward and backwards. Unfortunately here we just have a fixed way seat, so it's not as convenient. Stick my bar somewhere. Here we go. Well, leave the bar like this and you will see when we remove the brake line, the brake fluid is not going to spill everywhere. So here, freeing the 30mm bolt. I have a cut pan here to catch the brake fluid that is in the line. There we go. And as you can see, after the initial drop, now nothing drops from the line as I pushed on the brake pedal. Now we are going to disconnect the top part here. As soon as you have disconnected your line, you see there is one washer on each side of the banjo bolts. I reinstalled the new line directly here. It's not tight yet, but it's just to keep everything out, and you see there's a new washer on both sides. I mean, it's hard to see, but there is a new washer, a new copper washer on each side here. So this way I don't get anything to fall in the caliper while I'm working over there. So now I'm going to disconnect the top of the line. It's an 11mm for the top. There we go. Line is off. So now I'm going to be able to put a new line in. Before putting the new line in, I'm going to use a little bit of brake cleaner to clean up make sure I don't push any grime into the brake line. Go. So here you go until tight. Okay. Fine. When the hard line is moving, it means you are tight enough. Now the 13mm, actually that's a 16 now millimeter bolt with the banjo. This one has to be tied between 12 and 14. 14. And I'm taking my 16mm. And once you have torqued, I usually put some V-Torque marker paint to make sure the bolt hasn't backed off and is still in the correct position. And so now we are gonna bleed the brake before going to the next one so that we can push the air out of here before introducing air in the next line and having air in all the lines, making the bleeding process more difficult. So you do one brake line, you bleed. And the advantage of this braided brake line compared to the rubber line we remove, when those rubber line gets old, they can swell under the braking, which makes the brake pedal spongy. And while they degrade over time, those are more robust and can resist better to debris. So the stainless steel is braided in a plastic coating too that protects the steel. So that's definitely nice upgrade to do, and a safety item for those cars. So to bleed the brakes, since I'm by myself, I have this Pesico brake bleeder kit. So the kit's here, you just put your brake fluid in here. So I just put about a bottle of brake fluid. Then you close the cap, because that's going to be pressurized. So make sure it's properly tight. Over here, brake ball, we open this and they give you an adapter with a that's going to seal here on the top. The adapter in, here we go. Look at that. Once the adapter is threaded in, I take my bottle. Bottle has a hose that you connect here. Up. Go around 12 psi is a good number to put pressure. So the brake fluid is going to go through this line. It's going to push the brake fluid in the bowl, which in turn is going to put pressure on the lines and come back here. When I bleed the brakes, I had removed my pressure on the pedal. So on the caliper side here, they provide you with a bowl with the standard rubber cap to grab the bleeder. We're gonna open the bleeder with a wrench. Open. Okay, it's tight. And now you can see here the fluid coming out. We're gonna push the air bubbles, so you're gonna see the air bubbles coming through as well. As soon as we're gonna push the air through the caliper. And now I just have to wait for this to bleed itself. When you are done, put your bottle down. You get the fluid back down in the bottle. And here we go, no mess. Yeah, we are tight. Okay, put the cap back on. And we can move to the next line. So once I'm done bleeding the brakes on before moving to the next line, I release the pressure here. The brake line should not try to push brake fluid in the next line. When it reaches 0, and come back here. When I bleed the brakes, I had removed my pressure on the pedal, so now I'm putting my piece of wood back to press on my brake pedal before going to my next brake line. And now I'm ready to change my next brake line. So the front line is pretty easy to do. You just have the 11 mil here and the 11 mil here to disconnect and to pull the brake line out. So here I'm pushing the rubber line out. Okay. So now I can get this out. Gonna keep the line up so that it doesn't leak. I can put my new line in. Okay, so I'm gonna loosen it a bit. I'm gonna bend the bracket here to put that inside the bracket if I can. The new rubber is gonna come here like this. So the angle is pretty good. Like this, okay. Now those must be aluminum calipers, so be careful to not tighten too hard and damage the threads in the caliper. That's gonna be enough. There are two little tabs at the bottom. There we go. See the little tab there? The little tab just here. And this tab has to go in two little slot holes here, so it has to be vertically like this, otherwise it doesn't go high enough and you cannot get the thread started. That completes the installation of the rubber line, and now we just have to bleed the caliper. And there are two bleeders, an inner and an outer. If you can get light for both. Yep. So outer bleeder, inner bleeder. So usually I always start with the inner bleeder, and then I finish with the outer one. So now we are going to do the bleeding sequence. So for the rear passenger side where the gas tank is, it's a little bit more complicated to access. So you have two T20 bolts here and here to remove. And you have the 13 mil here to remove. And then you can pull this out to access behind the fittings that we will need to loosen. So I got pretty lucky for the first three. The last one, the nut was seized and didn't come out. I had to use my ball buster kit to get some heat to free the stuff, the freeze off and PB blaster and aero coil. It didn't help much, and it's only the heat that got it out. But one word of caution, when I did heat the hose fittings here, the hose exploded, and the this part, it probably built enough pressure inside here when I heated it up that this part popped out. So be careful if you use heat. I mean, always have your fire extinguisher nearby. But yeah, so I heard some pretty nightmare stories of those fittings not coming out, being rounded, lights being cut, and that line is a direct line directly to the ABS, and they are custom made. You can't order them, so try to not damage them. And if you just plan to cut the tube here and replace it, the metric bubble flare are very, very fussy, and so it might not be easy to reflare the line and with the proper fitting. Those are metric, of course. So, well, good luck with the project. Hopefully you won't have any seized nuts, and then you will have proper braided lines. When the job is complete, just make sure you release the pressure. When the pressure is at 0, you can disconnect here. Then remove your adapter fitting here. So now you can see the ball is completely full of fluid. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a syringe and pump out the extra fluid out of the ball. So here I can go with my syringe to pump the extra fluid and put it away until I reach the maximum level. I can shake to see. And here now I'm just at max, so I'm good to go. I can, I'm gonna clean my bowl. Just cleaning up around the bowl. This is my used brake fluid bottle for recycling, where I put my spent fluid, and here closing the cap. All good to go. And we can confirm that everything is fine by pressing on the brake pedal and confirming that the brake pedal is hard, which is just what we did before this. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. If you like this content, please subscribe and like the channel. That helps us produce more content. Thank you. Bye-bye.